Hi everyone, so welcome to this month's end of July's Pan Those Palettes update. There's some new faces or new pans here, so let me go ahead and explain what's going on. So basically, I have some good updates from the last month. I had some things that rolled in, rolled out, and I feel like just a ton of things changes even over this last month alone. So let me try to explain a little bit of what's going on. I think the last update I gave, I was starting to work on this palette as my eye palette. I was trying to work through this as my face palette alongside a little bit of mixing of this one, and things just changed. So let me go ahead and explain my face stuff first. I think that'll probably make the most sense, and it will actually work nicely into the eye palette. So basically, I've been trying to work through I worked through this one about 2 months ago. This was Hula Light, and I went ahead and finished that one up. I said I would try to use this one up, which was kind of like a bronzer shade. And so I started working on this, and I just wasn't feeling like it. So then I ended up actually just being like, since I'm not loving it, why don't I go ahead and switch it into my other face palette, which is a Sephora one. And actually the tones of this is much better for me now that I'm tanner. And so I went ahead and swapped that one in. So I basically took these two out, and I'll probably plan on working on these a little bit later. Actually, this one I'll work on later. This one I'm actually planning on decluttering. It's a beautiful shade, but honestly, it's not something I would gravitate towards. It smells great, but I would much rather put my effort of panning blushes into some other blushes I have in the near future, and rather would let maybe someone in my community be using this up. So hopefully someone will be able to give this some love, unless I can figure out something to do before I end up really decluttering it. But that's the plan for now. So let's say goodbye to these two. These are now, I know they are very short-lived in terms of this project, but I just felt much more gravitated towards this palette. This is a Sephora like Micro Smooth baked mineral baked face palette that they came out with, and it went on sale, and I think they discontinued it last year. This is in Captivate. This is kind of like had deeper tones of the two that they offered, and this one was actually much more interesting to me at the time, but it didn't quite fit my coloring, but I still picked it up because it looked interesting, and now that I'm a little bit tanner, it actually fits quite nicely. But mainly I gravitate towards this for the blushes. I could be using the bronzer and the highlight as well, but I just don't, I'm kind of working on other things for this purpose. And I also don't put on highlight very often anyways. So it would have been used in my eyes anyways, and I'm working on an eyeshadow palette. So it doesn't make sense for me to reach for these. But the blushes are beautiful, and that's what I've been reaching for, even though I've been reaching for it for about 3 weeks now. I shifted things over pretty quickly after my last update, so sorry for not updating you sooner. But you can honestly see zero progress in this. The big one here is actually this one, which is I just taped this pan in here, and it fits perfectly in here. Actually, it closes just fine, doesn't scratch or anything. But this is actually the second iteration of this pan. I had because I ran out of that Hula Light one, I wanted to make something similar, so I pressed whatever was left of it along with like a translucent powder and a little bit of this shade that's in this trio here. This very deep bronzer shade, and it made a really nice contour topper. And then I actually managed to use most of that up, so then I repressed it again using again this one along with the face powder to kind of lighten things up. And I might have even thrown in a little bit of like I threw in a little bit of this Burberry kind of taupe-ish eyeshadow shade. Sorry, this is very difficult. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. It stands up like that. But this is a very, as you can see, I have pan here that I hit in also about 3 weeks. But once I did hit pan on this, I went ahead and like started to use it to franken. So because of how warm this shade was, I didn't feel comfortable using this alone. And so, so I went ahead and put in a little bit of this very gray toned eyeshadow in there to kind of cool things up, and it became actually a really nice shade. It does look quite cool on the finger, but not as cool as a Burberry shade. So it's a really good contour topper for me right now in my shade match. So really happy with that. I managed to quite firmly press it in there, so I think it'll be around for at least a month, but we'll see when I update you next. But I feel pretty good about this palette and using this for the rest of the summer. So that is the status of the face palettes. let's go ahead and also talk about my eye palette next, because it actually has something to do with this one. As you can see, I also had a blush shade in here. This was actually a cream blush that I had franken and was keeping in this compact, and I was just trying to use it up little by little, but I wasn't really loving to reach for this palette, like reach for this component in particular. So I ended up pressing a little bit of this into my old eye palette, and I wasn't happy with that either. So I ended up pushing it actually into this portion of the palette, because for this lip palette, if you last saw my video, I had 3 lip shades here, and it just, yeah, it looks really different from what it does now. Basically what happened was I finished MAC Vivo Glam 5 and 6 that was here. For some reason, I got the bright idea to move whatever was in here to here. I'm not 100% sure why. I think I would need it to add more or something like that. But now thinking back, I'm like, why did I do that? I'm not sure. Either way, this was empty, and I was like, since these are all cream shades, I might as well pull in my cream blush as well. So I managed to take whatever was in the other palette and whatever was in this palette and put it in here, and it filled it basically to the brim. And I got pan, and for now I actually prefer using it with the cream blush pushed to the one side. It's so malleable. It's like that it's so easy, just like push everywhere. And so yeah, so the cream blush is something I'm working through right now. And then this is NARS Rikugien, which wasn't full when you last saw it, but there definitely wasn't this much pan. So I managed to actually clear out most of this here, and it's just this kind of J-shaped, this hook-shaped, right, hook-shaped shape of a lipstick right there. There's a tiny bit of lip liner that I also put in here, so I'll try to actually finish up this whole pan hopefully by the next month. I'm hoping to, and I don't think I can finish the whole thing. I think I'm hoping to finish up at least a third of that, another third, I guess, so half of whatever is remaining by the next update. That would be really nice. And I sometimes even combine this with some of the other shades, Rikugien or some of these other Franken shades, to just kind of deepen up the tone of this cream blush, because it is sometimes a little bit light for me. It's a little bit cool tone too, so sometimes these other ones do help with that. As you can see, I have a little bit of pan in this one as well. This one also wasn't filled to the brim, but it's a super soft shade, so I've been mixing with that because NARS Rikugien sometimes pulls a little bit too pink and too light on my lips, so this one has been nice to pull in. This is like a Rare Beauty balm that I had. And so that is the progress there. I'm very happy with how it's looking right now. Hope to finish up half of whatever's left there. Hope to finish this pan up by the next time you see it, or by the next time you see it, might be a whole different shade in there, given the way I franken. And maybe a little bit of expansion of pan in that one. And maybe a nice dip in some of these other ones as I finish Rikugien and start a different lip shade. These are all different takes and franken shades of MAC lipsticks that I had. And so that's kind of the progress here. I feel like this is in a good state. I was kind of, for a month or two, was really switching things around, but I think this is in a good state, and I've been working diligently at this. So this one we're going to say bye from the project, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to kind of use up some of these other shades in Franken ways and whatnot, but I probably won't be using this as a daily face palette whatsoever. So that one's there. Now let's talk about my eye palette. If you don't know, last time I switched out the main palette that I was using for the last 7 months. Prior to that, for this one, this is the Tarte Honeysuckle palette. Came out in the holidays. As you can see, I hit pan. They're super baby. You probably can't even tell they're really there. If I hold it a certain way, you can kind of see them. But yeah, they're like 3 different spots scattered all over, just mainly because the pan itself, if you can see up close, it's just really uneven. So I don't know if it's a way that I maybe like messed with it when I first got it, and maybe had like a little bit of cream product on my finger or something. You know, it's just like when you swatch it and it just like messes it up with the hard pan and everything, and it just never recovered really. But I still managed to pick up color, and I was using this a lot with my Burberry eyeshadow, which I had challenged myself to hit pan on within a month. I didn't have to hit pan on it, but I couldn't roll it out of my deck of panning until I did. But I went for the goal, and I triple dutied that these two, I would mix these two together just because of how gray this was and how warm this one was. And then I also mixed this one with this kind of reddish tone here. So this one's super It felt to me like it's pretty warm and red, and mixed it together with the Burberry eyeshadow, and it actually made a really nice like chocolate brown. So I really like to experiment with kind of mixing that up. And then yeah, so that was really nice mixed together. So these two I mixed, in order to hit pan on this. Nowadays, now that I'm done with my goal for the Burberry eyeshadow, I feel like, I feel like now I can just kind of use them on this palette on its own and not necessarily be mixing things. So this one I actually enjoy mixing with the blush because I don't really use that blush because I'm using it for my face palette mostly, and this one's super dark. I swatched this last time and it's just continues to scare me no matter how much I swatch it or no matter how much I get darker. It seems to still scare me. So it's actually been nice to mix in with this shade or some of the other shimmer shades to make kind of a pinky shimmer shade, which I enjoy wearing. And then I also use these two mixed together as like a blending shade. I was mixing these two a lot with the Burberry eyeshadow, although now I think I'm gravitating towards a mix of this one and this one together to kind of cool that down again. The mix of these two is okay, but I think still just a tad warm for my liking. So let me see, where was the swatch before? I think this was the swatch before. So still a tad warm for my liking. So I think mixing this one and maybe this purple one, which makes it super dark, but if I use a light hand, it's not too bad. Yeah, so that one's kind of more the color that I'm looking for in terms of a crease shade. I'm really standard with my eyeshadows. I don't really gravitate very much. But yeah, I'm very happy to see that I have pan in this one. I can see that there's use in this one, and there's a good dip in this like cream shade as well. And then yeah, so I'm hoping, and then I would really like to use as much of this one as I can, just because I don't think I'll reach for it beyond summer, maybe a little bit into the fall, but that's only what, like another month and a half or so. These ones I can see myself dipping for a little bit more, but yeah, this darker like corner over here, I don't really see myself hitting pan anytime soon, but I'm hoping to at least see a dip in this one. That'd be really nice. I love this purple shade, so I'll figure out when I want to pull that one in more. I would love to connect. There's actually 3 little pans in there. I don't know if you can tell at all, but there's 3 little tiny pans in there. So I hope to connect those first before I move on to another shimmer shade. But I imagine once I hit that goal of connecting those 3 little pans and widening the pan in there, then I will probably just end up frankening this with something else. Maybe even the highlight shade from the Sleek palette. It's a super, super nice highlighter, but I just don't reach for it on its own in that palette. It's really soft, really easy to use. So I can see that that texture combined with this texture might actually make a decent eyeshadow. And then as for these shades, I like this one probably over this one, so we'll see which one I end up reaching for first. This one is a little bit darker of a tone. So I'll need to figure out if this is like the right tone for my eyelid or not. It might not end up being that, and I'll just have to figure out other ways to use it. Yeah, and then I would like to hit pan in this one. I can see myself hitting pan in this one by next month, actually. Yeah, like there's a little bit of side pan going on. And I think I could actually hit side pan in this one. I would like to connect all 3 of those pans by next month. Start seeing a dip in this one, and even start seeing a dip in this one because I mixed these two with majority of the mix being this cream, or this very kind of light cream shade. And then maybe a little bit more disturbance in the blush there. So that's kind of the plan for this one. I honestly don't know if I am interested in this palette enough to like, keep it in the project long term, but I can definitely see myself at least using this through definitely through August, maybe also through September if I'm willing to push myself a little bit. So let me show you my final lineup for the time being. I think it's pretty much just these 3. So it's pretty straightforward again in terms of eye palette, face palette, lip palette, and kind of all these ones that were in the project recently will be kind of phased out and put back in my collection for a little bit, and I will pull them out when I'm ready to use them again. So hope you enjoyed this update. I hope you were kind of able to follow along. I did my best to explain kind of what happened along the way between the last update and this update. If you've been keeping up with my makeup dates, you would have actually heard about a lot of this already. When I actually filmed this, filmed the first take earlier today, and I kind of thought to myself, like, actually, have I updated you guys in this project about what happened over the last month? And I think it literally rolled over, I feel like 2 or 3 times since I last updated. So I feel like I'm good and settled with these right now, and I'm enjoying using these, and I look forward to using these. I'll probably bring this one with me in my travels in August. I don't feel quite comfortable traveling with the other two. I think based on formula and just bulkiness and stuff like that, I feel like this one's nice and compact, and I feel like I can definitely double duty some things too, in terms of like maybe this one a little bit as a bronzer shade, maybe mixed in with some of these very lightly. You know, this one, these are definitely setting shades, and you know, these are nice shimmer shades, definitely the blush right there. And so see, or I'll probably use whatever like lipstick I bring with me as blush. So probably also my makeup will be so minimal for the trip as well. But I feel like this one's the most travel like ready out of all of them. So I hope you enjoy this update, and thank you so much for following along with this project. And I hope to see you in my next one. Thanks so much. Bye.